welcome back to our Scala class, and we will continue or finish our NIM game, and we are still working on a database. We added an extra table with users. This now completes our mini database. Right now, so we used to have only two tables. So we only had scores and results. The problem with this old table design was that winner and loser, well, basically they are actually, reference a user, and these users could have some extra information. Obviously they could have many columns of information, right? And you don't want to put all the extra information here for the winner or loser position, right? So the proper way would be to reference the ID of a user who is winning on the ID of the user who is losing the particular game. Okay, so this will require some reworking of our code. The scores remain same because of course game ID, right? The reference, this stays same, right? The code for that. But for the results, we want to insert a reference. We want to get the ID of the user and for insertion in the results table. Also, let me remind you that we created some constraints as well. When we did migration, right? We did some foreign key constraints, which is very good, right? So we have to make sure we actually get the right constraints. Otherwise, well, nothing will happen, right? So we won't be able to insert, right? So this presents us a slight problem. We did not, of course, nothing is ever perfect. We did not require that unique user names exist in our user table. This is something we should probably also do at the end, but for now we'll have to use logic or Scala program. We'll have to check if the user exists. So if the user exists, we don't have to do anything with the users table. We just reference, we get the ID of this user, and we use that in insertion of the results. And similarly, well, same goes for the loser, right? We just reference, okay, is this user exists? Yes. However, if the winner or loser do not exist in the users table, we'll have to create this entry, right? So let's proceed to that. I already created some little templates, right? So we can get a select count of users. We have one, right? One user. I could insert another values here, of course, right? Again, if you look at the users here, data, right? You see one entry, right? Okay, so we'll have to, in our Scala code, we'll have to check, right? We can of course do these selects, right? We can check. The thing is, if I select something like Alice, who does not, well, she does not exist in this database, right? We have a null result. There's no clear, easy way to do this to get, and it would be nice to get like 0 here, for example, right? If the ID does not exist, right? So we'll have to do it we'll do a two-step process. We'll get a count how many users exist, right, by this match, right? And then if the number is more, if the number is 0, we return 0, right? Otherwise, we do the select if the number is over 1, and we get the ID from this this table. And of course, we'll do limit 1 again, just to be sure, right? Limit 1 just to be sure, right? Again, this of course depends on your requirements. Maybe you want to allow multiple first names, right? And then you'll have to figure out some other constraint, maybe some last name perhaps, right? Or maybe an email, maybe some secret extra information you want to add in this users table, right? Maybe something extra which we want unique. Again, remember that the ID is, it has to be unique, right? These are not required to be unique, right? The date name, email, they could theoretically be somehow, there's no constraints set for these fields, right? Okay, so we have our code, we have our database. Let's proceed to actually getting this information and updating our database. So let's go project 29, right? What is 30 already? Where are we now? We are already 29, right? So let's do a new Scala class object, day 29, updating database, high scores. Let's call it high scores, right? High scores. I want to get to a high scores today, of course, right? So, right, on extends app, right? Extends app, right? And again, we'll use this for testing, and we'll use 27 to 26 to test this. So again, I'll use this, right? No migration needed, right? Just right, and db close, right? Yeah, come on, why is it connection close? How did we close it? Connection, of course. Yes, of course, right? Right. Okay. Let's run this. No errors, I hope. Opened up database. Nothing. Everything's good. Okay. Because theoretically, since we are opening, we have the same database open also here. There could be some caching issues sometimes, right? Because we are, well, database are supposed to preserve integrity, but SQLite, of course, is particular how many people can write at the same time, right, on the same database. Okay, so all right, so let's make a get user, right? Let's make a function, right? Drop all tables. That's for cleaning, right? But let's get a user, right? Get user, right? So idea is this. So def get a user ID, right? So we'll have a user name string, right? And the idea is, of course, integer, right? So idea is, so not big int, sorry, not big int, just regular int, sorry, don't need a big int, right? So 0 for now, right? So returns, right? So username. Notice again, I'm using this. We'll talk this in more on Thursday or next Monday about the Scala doc format. This is really useful, nice thing to use to talk about what the function does. So returns user ID if it exists, or 0 otherwise, right? So describe, right? Again 0 or ID. Okay, again, not much right here, right? So we have everything works. Now it always returns 0, but we'll make a query, of course, right? We'll make a query and we'll make a get user ID, right? I'll just do SQL, right? And of course it's gonna be a string, so oops, not like that, like this, right? Okay, and so it will be it'd be nice to get the ID, right? But we don't know if we have it, so we'll use this particular. You need to prepare it, have a prepared statement. That's one thing, right? And it'd be nice to be safe, right? Because what's how possible is that this user, if we're checking this user, we are not sure if it's going to be safe or not. So we probably want to check select also with prepared statement. That would be much safer, right? Let's check if we can do this. Let's see. Prepared statement for let's double check, right? I know it works for insertion, right? We might need some other for selection, right? So let's say Java JDBC select prepared statement, right? So select, right? Again, we'll use Java, but it doesn't really matter, right? All in here, right? So let's check prepare statement, query, set string, right? So that's a string 1. Okay, let's see. Okay, yeah, like this. So we use upper text, right? And this is the question mark. So we use text question mark, right? So again, so this is of course we can compare, we can easily transfer it to Scala, right? Okay, so we're going to have to use a select. So in our here, right? So our name question, right? So let's do this, right? Let's see if it works. There's our name db, right? Okay, select count from users u where name equals question mark, right? Let's check, right? Okay. Now that's good. That's a good start. And then we basically do, of course, not set int, but set string, right? So this will be, right, set integer game ID. So as you can imagine, this is the easy part, right here. Okay, and prepare statement, of course, SQL. And this is going to be, of course, name, right? And of course, this has to be set string, of course, right? Yeah, okay. Again, remember why we're doing this. If we did not do this and we have incoming untrustworthy user input, we could have potentially allow somebody by inserting, or remember, our Bobby tables, right? Bobby tables, xk.z, right? You could have a database injection, right? This is, again, so you need to use this prepare statement syntax. Again, it would be so, I mean, it is so tempting, it would be so tempting to use S strings, right? Just do S string here and don't have to, you have extra lines, right? But again, this is for the safety, right? And so, right, we are going to execute and close, right? And the question is how do, right, we actually want to get results, right? This is per statement, right? So now the results, right? But questions, can we get it actually here? Right, let's see if we are getting results, right? Right, PS execute query, so results set, right? Yeah, so that will be fine. Execute query. Yeah, Scala code, right? Of course, and of course prepare statement, of course. You see how smart IntelliJ is. It lets me do it right. So prepare statement. So this, of course, I will use it. This is the result set, right? Yes, it's the result set. I'm going to move it up here, right? I am going. There it is. Okay, it's there. I don't need to do it twice. Okay, so it's not broken. Nothing's broken because I already used it before, right? So okay. So result set, right? This is the result set, right? And we would like to check, right? Do we have anything or not, right? We can close this, of course, no problem. We already prepared it, everything's run. So let's check, right? Right, while if we have a result next, so we could try to get, well, we'll get one, right? So like this, right? And count, as I'll say count something like this, right? So because of course I need some name, right? So select, so ID, well, ID equals, right? Well, not ID, but count. I'll do it for now. Count, right? Equals, of course, rs get int, right? And we could do column 1. By the way, we could just column 1 would be fine, right? Label, or so this would work as well. So this is when you this is just the first column, right? So no need to actually rename this, right? So let's see if this works and I can return it, right? So let's check, right? So again, so by now we should get 0 or 1 in this case. We don't get an ID. It's not. It still needs to be to do actually return ID, not count, right? This is not finished yet. Okay, but we are getting there, right? So I'll do this. So let's test it, right? So print line db get user ID. So while this should give me 1, right? And if I do print line db get user ID Liga, right? Liga. It should not give me 0, right? Okay, let's test it. Let's test this and see if this works, right? So let's run it and see if there are any errors. Maybe I made some errors. Yes, I did. Something did not go correctly. Okay, so let's check. So there was an exception, right? And checkpoint. Did we print anything? So we opened. Looks like it printed immediately, even while this. So even while this did not work correctly. Let's see. Can we? It's set is closed. Okay, looks like we were too quickly, right? Let's see. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So we need to actually. Looks like I need to close afterwards. Okay. All right. That's fair enough. Looks like this, right? Will this help? Yes, perfect. Okay, excellent, excellent, excellent. So we are in business. So we can read the counts, right? And again, so this will always give you, we don't even need this count here, right? Since it's, so count is not even needed, right? Not worrying about the column name, right? I do not even need this because I just get first column. Okay, it'll be number 0. So, what we can do now? Well, let's do one more query, right? Well, now, right? It'd be nice to do query again. It's not that these are really quick queries, so it's okay, right? So we'll do actual get ID. So if we get right, we need to get the actual. This gets a count, right? So this should probably move. Let's move this into right. Well, this is a good function, but let's do this actually. This is not actually. How should we refactor this, right? Let's refactor this immediately, right? Well, this is nice. Let's get user count, right? So this is actually a helper function, right? I'll copy this, right? And all this will be helper. Define get user count, right? String, right? Name string. So this is something which we can use, right? And this is gonna be integer, right? Int, right? So this is actually what we are gonna do, right? Okay. So this gets user count, right? And so now we can use that, right? If, right? And then we can check, okay, if, and now we can do get user ID, right? And let's do this, right? So, and this actually will be what? Select ID, right? That's already good. Otherwise, nothing changed, right? Oh no. Well, let's ID, right? This is going to be ID, right? Now we're in good business, right? So, not too bad, right? Right. So get user ID, get user count, and now, right. So this is only, right. Right. Right, so let's check. This is get user count. Right. Name, right? Should be 1 or 0. 1 or 0. 1 or 0, right? String, just string. Okay, so something like this. So let's check. So again, we don't want to call for the user ID if we don't know it exists, right? So ID, this works. Again, so we can't really skip this part with count, unfortunately, because we'll get unexpected. We'll check. Let's test it. Let's test it, right? Let's test it now. Or day 29, we have get user eval this. So this will work. This actually will give me, and I'll give also. Let's insert Liga, for example, right? Let's insert Liga. So or Control Z, Control C is right. I'll insert it, and I'll do, let's say, Alice, right? Alice will also be there, right? So I'll execute this, right? Okay, yeah, look like it worked, right? We can check our users. Let's refresh. Yes, okay, right, okay. So Alice, right, looks okay. Yeah, diagram, right. Okay, we have good data, right? Okay, and let's see, where's my table? Okay, so this is our big table. Okay, so now I have 2 users, and I should be able to get the ID, right? Now should work. Let's check. So Control D, Alice, right? These work fine, right? Yeah, this is good, but Liga will not work fine, right? Unfortunately. Yeah, you get an exception, so you could have to result set closed, right? So what happened is, of course, here is that there's no result, right? You get nothing. So it's not really, it's not a, so that's why we need this extra check, right? So basically, well, we could use another function, but I guess we can do this. So ID, we can check this, get user ID first, right? So basically, well, since I'm lazy, I'll probably do this. If, yeah, if get user count name equals 0, all right, 0, right, else we gonna do this again. This is, I'm not probably not the cleanest code, but for time I might want to ask you to refactor this, right? But this would get us there, right? So get 0, right? So we return 0, else we make a query and we return ID. So now we shouldn't get any problems, right? So again, assuming we count 0 is okay. So this now safe, right? Because we're using this get user count, right? This will always work. It will count, right? It will count. There's no exceptions here, but here we could possibly have an exception. Now we are actually getting the ID, or, well, also let's do limit 1, right? So let's do limit 1, of course, just in case, right? Limit 1, right? Again, assuming we allow only one user to exist, just in case, right? Okay, let's run this now. Let's see if this fixes everything, right? So I'll do Liga, right? And let's see. Yeah, perfect, right? And I can do maybe, you know, Shrek, right? And let's see what happens, right? And yeah, and Bob, of course, is also missing. Okay, so now we're good, right? So we now are ready to proceed. Now let's proceed with insertion, right? Again, the extra safety would be provided if you add a constraint for insertion, but again, it's still, we're not guaranteed the database properly designed, right? Usually it should be, of course, but again, if you are working with database which is unknown, right? With all these constraints, it's better to check if this user ID exists. So if we check, right, then we can insert into this particular ID, right? So let's make a function for this. So let's make a function. We have get user ID, insert new user. So define insert new user, right? Name. Again, it could be, of course, could add and do we want to return anything? For now, nothing, right? We could, of course, get his ID if he wanted, right? But so we have the syntax. So let's do this. If get user ID, again, or we can do count, of course, right? So we have get user ID. So now which function should we use? We could use get user ID, but we could also use count, of course, right? If get user count, again, then insert, right? Right? So basically, again, if get user count name equals 0, right? Again, I would like to make it flatter, but unfortunately, okay, so now we actually do it. Otherwise, we do nothing, right? So if we have no user, by this name only, then we do anything, right? Okay, so let's see, what can we do, right? So well, basically we'll use this prepare statement. Again, let's use prepare statement. Only difference will be we don't need to execute query, but we'll use this one insertion here, right? Execute, right? We don't need to, right? So something like this, very simple. Right, so now let's do this. So we have our dbeaver. Well, this, right? So something like this, insert into values, right? Again, we'll use a question mark, of course, right? And so val SQL, right? Right, of course, I'll do so val this will be a question mark, right? And let's see this, right? Set string, parameter index 1, right? Yeah. Only difference will be we don't need the result set, right? We don't need the result set because we're inserting, right? So we don't really care about the result set here, right? So SQL, here we go. Right, yeah, here we are. Statement, SQL, name, yes, okay, and just execute, right? We don't care about here, we just get execute. So well, we don't need, not checking for success, right? We know if it doesn't exist, right? So again, you could check, but it should be fine. Again, we don't care about, well, in this particular case, or user's email it could be null, right? Again, if it is required, you have to of course provide it, right? Okay, so now looks like we are in good shape. We can insert a new user, and we can always get the user ID. So let's try this, right? Let's see if I make a mistake, but I don't think, well, we'll see, right? Now let's insert. So let's insert Shrek, right? db insert user, right? Let's do Shrek, right? And let's do this again. Control D. Let's insert this here, and let's check, right? Let's run it. Yeah, 3. Perfect, right? Let's run it again, of course. So now it shouldn't break, right? Insertion should do nothing, right? Not right. And of course, again, just to dry down this point home, right? We have here, right? Else, right? We have nothing, right? Else, right? User already exists, right? And also, I should probably close this statement, right? Good idea too, right? Okay. Nothing to do, right? Okay, so now we're good. So now we're almost ready to finish this, right? So let's see. Yes. Okay. So we have our Shrek, right? We have our database. Let's refresh it. Let's see. We only have Alison, but we can refresh it, right? So result, no, not results, but users. Refresh. Okay, great. All right. So now I hope you got the idea how it's a little bit tricky, right? It would be nice to do it in one query, right? And there, if you go to Stack Overflow, there's some ways of doing it, but then the query gets really long. But these are short, quick queries. There's no point of slowing, no point of complicating things if you can do these short, quick queries. Okay, so now our logic is this: when we play the game, right, we need to insert the IDs. So we need to update this also. So we need to update this part here, right? Here, when we insert the game, we insert the score, right? This one here, right? That's not for score, full score, but for insert the result, right? Let's insert the result, right? This is winner loser. Okay, that's fine. But now we don't have the. We need to change this, right? These parts need to be changed, right? So how are we going to change? Easy. Well, basically, we could add a logic here. If winner doesn't exist, we create it, right? Or we can just basically let's check. We can insert it basically. We already have the logic, right? How many times do we have when we compare it? We could do this first. Get the ID, right? So check add both winner loser, right? So we could do basically this, and maybe we could return it, right? Yes, we could. We could insert, right? We could, right? So that's one way of doing it. Yes, we could. If we're not doing anything else, right? Insert result, insert user, right? This will do basically insertion, right? let's do return it, right? Let's get the ID, right? Let's get integer, right? Right? And now, of course, we can do basically get user ID. Yep, guaranteed, right? Let's see how we can use this. This is guaranteed, right? We're gonna get the UID. Insert new user, we get it. Of course, we should comment this. We should comment this, right? So inserts new user and returns ID. Insert new if it does not exist. Returns ID of new or existing user. So again, is this ideal? Probably not, but I think it's this little trade-off here for efficiency's sake, right? So we have a little, basically we are returning the ID of what we did, or possibly something which didn't, well, we could log this here, right? We could log this here, but basically we always get the ID. So now our logic becomes very simple, right? When we do the insertion for the score, right, for the players, we always gonna try to insert the users, right? So where is it? Where is it here? Insert. Let's go to our structure. Again, structure, since I'm already so much time. So insert results, right? Here we go. Right. So we need the ID here, right? So we need the ID, right? So winner ID, right? So we need to change this. So val winner ID equals what? Insert new user, right? And winner, right? So val loser ID equals insert new user, loser ID, loser, right? Okay, so this should work correctly. And now everything should work. Winner ID, and maybe again, okay, I'll keep the lowercase here, loser ID, okay, and of course set integer, of course, set integer and set integer. Okay, so all of this extra stuff to make our database proper. The thing is, again, it'd be probably better do this immediately to figure out that you need these tables, right? So in any application, the most crucial part is designing your data structures first. Always design your data structures first as much as possible. Of course, again, no battle plan survives contact with real world, right? But still, better to plan it ahead. Okay, so now I think it looks good. So winner loser is an integer, right? It should work, right? Again, we're assuming it should not fail, right? But so there, of course, there could be some exception handling. But again, so it should work now properly. Let's say so. And we have insert score already. Let's play a game now. So we are ready. Let's play a game. Let's play a game now. Well, let's play a game. Again, we have a PVC here. Let's run it. Let's see here. I'll be Valdis. So that exists, right? A second player, it's going to be a computer, right? So 3 matches, 2, 3. Okay, I want to beat the computer. I'll do 2. I'll do 1. Okay, so let's check our database. Right, let's see if it works. Looks like it worked. There's no exceptions. That's great. But let's refresh everything, right? So just in case. Okay, we have a computer. So that's good news. So we have a computer. How about scores? Results. Yes, winner 1, that's me. Loser 4, computer. Excellent. You see, you can check here actually. Well, you can check it doesn't show you here directly, right? But these are the reference, right, to these entries, right? So, how about scores? Well, here this is a game. Game ID was 1. It's fine. Okay, let's play one more game. So everything is great. Works perfectly. Well, as much as possible, right? So let's run one more with Alice and Bob, right? Or Alice and Shrek. Let's play Alice and Shrek. Will play a game. Again in testing, right? So 3, 2, 2, 3, 3, 3. Alice will make and I'll make Shrek's gonna be very stupid. It'll make a Shrek will lose. Okay, right. So again, notice Alice exists, Shrek exists, saving game score, and it should be nicely updated. You see? Now we have a second game. Looks good, right? Again, move, right? And again, remember, there's no need to see who played this, because we can always, there's no need, you don't want to duplicate your data right here, not in a database. That's, if you want to replicate, that's different. So for scores it's fine. For results, right, we have a second result, winner 2, loser 3, right, which is of course 2 was Alice, 3 was Shrek. Okay, and so on and so on. So looks like we're doing pretty good, right? So pretty good handling, pretty good database as far, right? I would like to add, well, a high score function. Let's see how much time we have. Yes, let's see if we can add a high score function. Let's play some more games. Let's make a few more games quickly. So I'll do all this, right, and I'll play computer again. Oliver match, and I'm losing it. Okay, sorry. Well, this lost. Okay, let's do one more. Again, Valdis. One. I'll take 2. On. Aha. You see what happened, right? So 3 loses, and okay. So Valdis won, but I have this crazy new user again. Typo is fine. His name is 3. Okay, that's fine, right? But okay, so now we have enough results of the results, right? Let's refresh this, of course. Results need to be refreshed here, right? Right, so I am involved in 3 games, right? I won 2, I lost 1, right? So let's, for the reminder, let's get high scores. Let's get the high scores. Let's get the high scores on this. Right, so let's implement the get high score function, right? And I'd like to see best, highest winners, highest losers, right? So let's do that. So we'll do it in database, right? So it will be something like this. Let's do it in a query. So it's in where it is who. Let's group by winners and count, right? So count and group winners. Simple query, right? So remember into the SQLite tutorial. Not this one. Not that's not the one we want to use. Where's my? Oh, there we go. Right, group by. Again, this is for using for grouping. We could count also, but grouping is probably the easiest one. So this will let us give the biggest winners and biggest losers, right? So let's do that. And where is our group by function? Let's check here. Here we go. Right. Right. So we group by some column, and then we use aggregation function. Right. And there's only like 5 different aggregation functions. Very simple one is the count. So we basically count some column. It could be the one you group. So let's try this. So select name. No. Let's see. How did we call it? A winner. Winner. Count winner. From results, right? Group by winner. Yes, okay, you see how nicely it worked? So, and I'll call this wins. I'll call it wins, right? Okay, great. And this will give us, of course, group by winner, and it gives us, again, sort by, let's see, order by wins, right? Descending, right? Yeah, it works? Yeah, it works. Okay, right? Just in case. Again, maybe this is not needed, but it's just to be sure, right? Group by winner. And so what happens this? So we take the results table, we group by wins, right? And we count how many wins are there, right? And then we group by wins and we get the top list, right? Top player list. Okay, let's do that. Let's do that, and let's implement this. Let's get high scores. Let's get high scores. again, biggest winners, right? So, but the only thing is, of course, these are IDs. So, how should we do this? How should we? This is all great, but if this is an ID, be nice. It would be sure would be nice to actually get the name, right? Let's do that. Can we do that? And let's see. That's a little bit tricky, right? This would be probably. Let's see. Can we join afterward? Let's check our SQL syntax, right? Our SQL syntax join full syntax. Can we join? Select. Right. Inner join. Right. So we need to join it first, right? Yes, we do need to join first. So join. Yeah, we'll need to join. So join. Join users, right? Right. What's the condition? On user. Oh, you ID equal to what? Result winner, right? And then of course I can say our name, right? For you name, right? Right. Let's check. Yeah, well, this computer Alice. Okay, so we have all the winners and we can do this now, get the top list, right? So do we need how many wins? Yes. Do we need the ID for a user? No, we don't. So we can actually we are grouping by winner, right? And this is actually descriptive, so we can skip this, right? We can skip this part here, right? Actually, right? We can skip this. We are grouping by this column, right? But we can actually skip. We don't actually we do not need to display the column. We group by, right? So I'm going to remove it, right? Of course it is not really needed. So well, so we have nice the winners list. Okay, excellent. So we did this query and I hope you got the idea how this works. So group by is extremely powerful technique for aggregating results, right? And we combine this with joining users table again. So we, since our tables, where's our tables? Here we go, right? So results table reference these IDs are IDs only, right, of users, right? We can then completely rebuild complete information on the actual winners and losers, right? Of course, losers will probably be something we'll do as an exercise, right? So let's check how it works, right? So def it will be, let's do this now. Of course, we need probably some sort of be nice to have a little let's say player, right? Do we have a player class? I forget now. Maybe we don't. Did we add it? You should probably add it here somewhere. Or a game. We have a game, right? We have a nim game, but do we have a player? No, we don't. But let's do this. Let's add quickly, right? Maybe day 9, right? I'll add it here. Again, we can use it here. So case class player. Do we have it? And of course name. We could do ID, of course, as well. Do we need ID? Not that we could. Yeah, we'll do ID, right? Int, right? I'll do equals 0 for now, right? And we don't really worry about right now. And of course, we want wins, right? Wins int, right? Losses, right? But again, so this is something we could use to store some data, right? Again, utilize all fields, right? To do utilize all fields for player, right? Okay, for players. Okay, so this is going to be a case class which we'll use to store some data, and it's very typical again to use case classes for individual rows, but here it's aggregate rows. So we would like to get a. So what would we like to receive? We would like to receive here in our get players, right? So get top players, just get a list of players basically, right? So array of players. So let's do that. So define get top top winners, right? This will be what? Do we need any queries? No. Do we need any single? So it's going to be array of player, of course, right? Right? That's pretty simple, right? And so we'll need a query. So query we have. So val SQL, we already have that done. Right, like this. And where is it? And again here we don't have, since we don't have to prepare the query because we already have it. There's no user input here, right? So we can simply do this, right? And right, and this gives us a query, right? But that's not, of course, enough, right? So we need to, of course, execute it and then apply it and read the results into a database, right? We already did this before, right? So we can do this again. Where we have a get user count, insert new user, get top winners, get ID of last game. Let's see. Now let's check out. Well, we have print players, something in a database connection, right? Track saving exercise, something like this, which we could use here, right? Like we'll need to use something like this, basically, right? We'll need to have a while we have columns, right? We'll need to create a we'll have a buffer, perhaps, right? We'll need to do a buffer, right? Something very similar to this, right? Right? So we'll create one, right? Player, right? And we'll actually get the players, right? Something very similar to this. So we'll have array buffer and we'll return it actually as a full player list. So a lot of extra work, but I think it should come out pretty nicely in the end. The database, right? So what's our query? No, we need this is of course player, not genre. Player, and this is of course array buffer, right? That's good. That's fine. Players, player buffer, right? And now we need just the result set, right? Execute query, right? We don't need the right. Yeah, that's what we want. Okay, I mean a statement, execute query, and how did we do statement? db. Let's see here. Yeah, control statement. Yeah, of course that we need that. Okay, that's pretty good. Looking good. So basically, while we have any results, we have what? New player, while player, right, equals of course player, right, and we have what? What do we need to put in there? We need to get. We have our query. We'll have the name, right? We'll have the name, right? We have the name, and we have the wins, right? We have the wins and the name. So player, and we have the result set, right? I'll do rs, right, because it's easier, because it's so rs get string, and we have name, right? And rs get int, right, and we call it wins, right? Okay, yep, wins. All right, looks okay. And then of course we do player buffer plus equal player, right? Pretty simple. And then of course we return it, player buffer to array. Again, it's better to fix return immutable values, right? So let's get our top players, right? And let's, of course, since we have top players, so basically let's make a print. So let's make a helper function, define print top players, right? Again, so this will be basically a helper function unit, right? So yeah, unit, and this will be basically this get top players, well, top players, right? And equals get top winners, right? On top players, you know, for now I'll just print them, right? Top players for each print line. Okay, let's see what happens now. And after the game we will print it. So let's see if this is actually doable, right? So we'll do multiple games afterwards, right? So after insert full score and print top players. So db print top players, right? Printing top players, and we can do it here, right here. Top players. So with the most wins are, right? Let's check. Let's run it. So Valdis, computer again. Let's try to beat computer again. And I'm gonna lose. Okay, look at this. So computer is beating me again. Of course, how to decide? Probably C and V, right? You have to, of course, define your search criteria. But we see how player, right? We can see computer and Valdis, right? Both have the wins, right? So quite nice. Everything works. String ID. And the thing is, that's right. ID wins was actually ID was first, and I insert wins. So I should probably do this to be completely correct. It should be right. This is wins equals, right? Yeah, to be correct, right? So let's try it one more time. Hopefully I will beat the computer again. I'll do one. Yes, I win. I am a leader now. Okay, great. All right, so we have implemented. So what did we do today? We implemented the ability to use these three tables, to have a users table separate from the winners losers table, from results table, and we implemented the ability to add new users only if they don't exist already, and we added a grouping ability to retrieve the list of top players, basically using the group by function, like here, right? Using this query. Okay, hopefully this was interesting enough, and let's proceed with some exercise in a moment.